Good morning, and welcome, my friends, to today's show with the Fabulous Five. Our topic for today is The New Year Begins with a New Thought. We extend a special welcome today to those of you joining us for the very first time. You can find out more about our center by going to our website at www.cslpalmdesert.org. We also welcome back those of you that continue to be present with us. We appreciate so much your presence and participation. I know every person here today will receive something magical from this program. It might be from the words shared, maybe the topic expanded, or maybe from a question someone in our audience extends. Whatever the source, I know this greater good will feed each person here to become even more aware of the relationship with the One, and each will feel this oneness to an even greater degree than before. So with that introduction, I now invite you to take a breath with me, settle in, and join us in our opening invocation. Immersing in this sacred moment, this is what I know. There is only one. Call it love, peace, wisdom, joy, light, beauty. This intelligent energy is everywhere present, all powerful, and it is always giving of itself without any hesitation. And I know that I am, and each person here is made in the image and likeness of this One. As the winter solstice has been celebrated and the warmth and light now begins its return, I am so grateful for the powerful light within each person here, and for knowing that this light is always present, always growing and expanding as we move into our topic today. And so it is. So we like to begin our program each week with an engaging question that allows you to get to know each one of us a little better. And today's question for our Fabulous Five is this, and it's a three-part question. Was this holiday season better than you thought it could be? What stood out most for you this holiday, and what did you learn? So overall, I really enjoyed, and I'm still enjoying this holiday season. And I can't say it was better than I thought it could be. Rather, I believe it was exactly what I thought it would be. Thoughts are things, right? And I was very aware of that this year. You see, I knew this holiday would be different, but what's wrong with that? That's the question I kept asking myself. What's wrong with that? And the beauty in this holiday season for me, and I would extend it actually to the entire 2020 year, is that we all had the opportunity to practice embracing change, something we're going to talk about quite a bit today. These changes, with all of their challenges and all of their gifts. And in saying this, I don't in any way minimize the pain and disappointment we've all experienced this holiday season and throughout the 2020 year. But I think I'm feeling this freedom today because I've embraced the pain felt this year. And there's been a lot of pain. But then I've also stayed open to the gifts embedded within this pain. I think Dr. Joe sums this statement up best when he says, don't miss the pony in the pile of manure. So I think what stands out for me and what I've learned from this is that despite the many, many events and situations that I experience, even right now, is frustrating, difficult, maybe lacking in integrity, none of that appearance impacts the light that expresses through me. There's a place in me that I know is never affected by the experience of these events, and that I'm always at choice around what lens I use to respond to these and all events in my life. So if I experience lack of integrity, this experience calls me to live my life with more integrity. And if I'm experiencing frustration, I'm clear that this experience causes me to shine my light It calls me, shine that light, Gail, with more enjoyment, happiness, and contentment. So yes, as we close this 2020 holiday season and this year, I'm experiencing loss and all the normal and natural sadness that goes along with loss. But by leaning into and feeling and fully embracing all that it's teaching me, I feel like I've created space to shine my light and allow the true gifts to also reveal themselves. And for this and so much more, I am truly grateful. So with this, I'm going to pass these questions over to Reverend Bradley.
Thanks, Reverend Gail. One of the highlights for me was having the family Zoom on Christmas morning. That was just really nice. It was with a family in 2 different states, and some of them had sent each other gifts, so they opened gifts online, and it was just it just felt more like I was present with them. So that was just really nice. That was just really nice. Learned, I think I have a different perspective now on things, from gifts sent to me or gifts I sent out or things in my life. Just less is more. So I've already made 2, my backseat was full twice, and I sent them to a thrift store and Goodwill, took items just from my home that's like, I really don't need this anymore. And, when I moved here a few years ago to take care of my parents, I went through what's little's left of that 3-bedroom, 2-bath storage and got rid of a lot more stuff, and that feels great. So I learned always less and more, and how can I do whatever I need to do to be in the present moment. And if less things around me is what supports me in being in the present moment, I'm completely fine with that. So, how about for you this holiday season, Reverend Cheryl?
Well, for me, this holiday season was one of opulence as far as my Christmas was, because I have a crazy amount of Christmas decorations. And for the last, gosh, I know it's been 7, 8, 9 years. I might put up a tree, but nothing else. And this year, for some reason, I just wanted to go all out. So I got all of my decorations, not all of them, but I got a lot of my decorations out and put them out. And I think the reason I did it was because I started realizing that all the holidays, I never felt like, oh, well, there's nobody here. Yes, there is. There's me. I had friends that would say, why are you putting up a tree? It's only you. I'm like, hello, that's why I put up a tree, because it is for me. And so for this season, I just made it the happiest time of the year for me this year. And it was, I love decorating my tree. It's like 12 foot tall. I had so much fun with it. And then getting all my stuff out and just bringing back memories. Each ornament on my tree has a memory attached to it, from when my kids were little and, different things. And it's just, that was what was so wonderful for me. So instead of going Brad's route, less is more, mine was more was better, so I just went nuts. But, and what stood out for me on this holiday is the love. I work at a place where these people are, they all come here for the season and then they go back, but just the amount of love and compassion that they've had for each other. Being very considerate, even if, I have anti-maskers there, and I have people that, won't even step out of their RVs now because they're scared, or afraid. But just the compassion shown, because people would, like, the people that were afraid, they would take food to their house and say, here, so I know you don't want to come out, so here, leave it on their doorstep. And it's just, my whole heart has just been so full of joy just watching this going on. And what did I learn from this season? I learned that there's nothing that can damp down that spirit, that Christmas feeling within you. I learned that for so many years I did that. I just, it's just the holidays, big deal, and something inside of me, that divine urge was screaming, okay, it's time to start celebrating again, And so I just celebrated full out. And yes, I was alone, but not always. I mean, my darling friend Gail had me over for Christmas dinner, and I cooked Thanksgiving dinner even though I was by myself, but I took the food to the park for people that, that were not being able to be with their family and friends. And so they loved it, and so I think this season has been one of my best. I know that sounds crazy, but it has been one of my best because I truly, truly just loved Cheryl and took care of Cheryl, and it showed up all around me, what I was attracting to me. So thank you for that question, William. That was a fabulous one. And now I'm going to turn it over to our darling Reverend Dale. Darling Dale.
Darling Dale. Thank you, Reverend Cheryl. So going into this holiday season, I really didn't have any expectations because just of the unique nature of everything this year. So I kind of just had an open mind with what was unfolding. And it was kind of a mixed bag for me. I had moments of just really being at peace with everything. And then there were other times I was very present to the losses and not being in spiritual community. But I still had a lot of joy through the season. And I did something I normally don't do with Christmas. And it was so funny because I wasn't going to do cards or anything. And then I think like around December 12th, I just had this like divine inspiration to send all these people Christmas cards because I thought I just want to send love to everybody. And it was just a delightful experience. I just sat down and I put on some Christmas music and I just wrote love notes to everybody that's close to my heart. And I sent them out and it felt so good. I felt like that was what Christmas is all about. But something that I learned that I just realized actually a few days ago, for the last, I'd say 15 years, I've been part of our center's candlelight service. And I didn't realize how important that service has been for me as far as integrating myself with the Christmas season. And like, many of you know, I was raised Jewish, so I don't really have family Christmas ritual or any kind of intimacy with Christmas beyond just, being in this, in our society with it and having friends. And I realized that service really made me feel a part of Christmas because of what we teach about the Christ consciousness and love and peace and unity. And not having that this year, I realized that affected me and I felt a little alienated because I didn't have that integration. But that's how it is, right? And it's interesting to be present and to have these realizations of what's really meaningful to us. And I realized that ritual is so meaningful. And so when I heard from other people in our community how much it meant to them that Dr. Joe and Reverend Laura or Dr. Laura and Reverend Charles put together a lovely Christmas service that included some footage from the past, that really meant a lot to people to at least be able to have something that connected them with the center and our annual rituals. So that was kind of my big learn and realization about this holiday season. So Reverend William, how about you?
Thank you so very much. And every one of your points of view really touched me. Now, as far as my perspective on the holiday season, now that my kids are grown up, it was all about the kids and making sure they had a good time and having the decorations. Well, they've grown up and I kind of lost that. I enjoy the holiday season mainly because of the food, but it's just another day for me. But this year it changed. It really became the idea of compassion, being open to helping others who are less fortunate than myself. And I think because of the fact of the isolation that we have to abide by government standards now, that it opened up my heart to be more giving of my time, more giving of patience with other people. Even though that we have the social distancing going, there's still people on the road and there's still people at the store. But I found myself having more compassion and more patience with others around me. And that led to even more love to those that are in my inner circle. In fact, just a few days ago, we just happened to have someone who needed some help, and it was just out of nowhere this came up, and Elizabeth and I went and spent the whole afternoon, all the way into the evening with this person to help them out and just make them feel important. And I'm telling you what, that there is something that goes both ways on that road. I mean, the person who's receiving that love, but to be able to have that love within yourself and give that and recognize that love, it's really something powerful. So the thing that stood out most for me this year is just that, the compassion that I was able to project upon others around me, to total strangers. And it's so funny how you talk about when you give, you also receive. And I'm telling you what, that receiving of that joy, that where nobody has to know what's welling up inside your heart, where you're almost creating a tear in your eye because there's that joy within yourself that you don't have to go and, nudge your buddy and say, hey, look at what I did. There's just that inner peace in knowing that, wow, not only did I make a difference in their life, but the fact that I was able to do that changed my life. And there goes some God bumps right there. And that's what I really learned this year, is compassion. The holiday season is not about the activities that we have become rituals, regardless of your faith. It is a time of connection where the end of this year is coming to a close. What a great way to celebrate life than with the holiday seasons. I mean, the three biggest ones of the year are right there at the tail end. That's divine intervention right there. That's divine design right there. That's how I'm feeling about it. And so that's where my talk is today, is the new year begins with a new thought. And I thought about that, how we think about the new year is a particular day. And it's all about perspective. I always see things in perspective and scientific and algorithms and geometry and I make sense of things and able to put a mathematical spin or a logical spin to things that seem very abstract. And so here's some of the wild things that I have inside of my head. We're talking about a year. Well, okay, perspective. Well, what's a year on Saturn? Heck, even though that we're not calling Pluto a planet anymore, what's a year on that? So the idea of a year is nothing more than a construct that we have inside our own minds. We always talk about there's only now. There's what's going to happen or what's ahead of us, and then there's the past, but there's only now that we get to live. And so this holiday season, what has been happening this past year is a chance to slow down and find out and reacquaint yourself with what's important. I mean, how many times have we said throughout the year? I mean, for decades now, I wish for simpler times. I'm in this rat race. It'd be nice to slow down. If I could just take time off. Well, don't we talk about race consciousness? And if you can talk about race consciousness, isn't that exactly what's happening now? And so if you believe in this philosophy, believe in race consciousness, believe that the thoughts do, not can, but do become things, then you must understand that what we're experiencing now is just a demonstration, the perfect unfoldment of spirit in relationship to our collective mind on this planet. Now, one thing I'd like to read, and it's out of the Science of Mind on page 491. And one of the beautiful things that I love about our philosophy is it's just that, a philosophy. It's not a religion. We take all faiths, all beliefs, and culminate them into an aggregate of what's the common theme, what's the common message. And so this is actually out of the Bibles. It is part of the New Testament. It's Corinthians 2, 4, 8 to 9. And this is what I'd like to read to you. Even in our troubles, we are not cast down. And though we appear to be deserted, we are not destroyed. All our experiences are working to the end that we learn the lesson of life and return to the Father's house as freed souls. Now, in our philosophy, we don't look to spirit as a father figure or a person. It's an energy. It's a vibration. But if you want to call it the Father, so be it. It doesn't matter what you call it. It still is. But isn't that wonderful? Return to the Father's house as freed soul. When you are enlightened and you understand who and what you are, isn't that being freed? And this time of contemplation with what's going on, it's giving us that moment to pause, to breathe on an eon type of scale. It's just a momentary breath and allows us to gain focus. And I continue. We should not despise apparent failures, all the temporary chagrins. I love that word, chagrins of life, for they are salutary, leading the soul to the inner Christ, the way, the truth, and the life. When the experience is complete, the lesson will be learned, and we shall enter the paradise of contentment. Does not that put the nail in the coffin, so to say? That is exactly how I see it right now, that what we are going through is a change of consciousness, a change of thinking that we are separate from one another, a change that allows us to realize that we are all brethren, regardless of race, creed, what geographical location. We are all just one thing happening, and that is spirit unfolding perfectly. And I invite you, I encourage you to look at this experience that we are right in the middle of and embrace it. Love it. Because when you can come from love, everything is possible. Your mind, your heart, your soul are open to new ideas, new ways of living, which will expand and project you into that new experience. And so that's why I say a new year begins with a new thought. Change your thought, change your life. Now, I open this up to discussion about this, but that is my opening, and I appreciate your time.
Well, expanding on what you said there, William, the thought of, Einstein even said that time and space are relative, that they're not real. That's just the concepts that we have in order to make our lives function. If we didn't know what time it was, we would never know when to be there. We wouldn't even be here today, because nobody would have shown up at the same time. And so if you look at it from that point of view, then all of those times in the past that you have lodged in your head that need to be replaced with a new thought. And the way you replace something is you start living your life in a different way, and a different way of thinking. And sometimes I know at first, when I first started this, that I would have to do, stop, don't think that way, don't do that, and that's sometimes what it takes. It's just becoming aware of where your thought pattern is and where it's going. And then when you start saying, like, I know people have said this so many times, I knew this was how it was going to turn out. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen. And guess what? You called it, baby, so you got it. So sometimes it's just a matter of realizing that you can change your thinking like this. It doesn't take a new year. I think that what's good about celebrating the new year is becoming more aware of where you were in the year prior to this new year. And so, in what direction do you want to continue living the life that you've been living this last year? I'm not talking about just the pandemic. I'm talking about all the things that are going on. Or are you ready to step up and be bold and show your inner strength and pull that inner child out and whack at one, and say, get out of here, In other words, to let all of those things go, to start thinking about how you want your life to be now. And we are really, really big in our center on visualization. So just sit down sometime or just before the new year and really think about what you want to see in your life in the coming year. And just hold that thought and just embrace it. And just make that decision that this is what I am focused on. This is where my life is going this year. And thank you for letting me share. And I think Reverend Dale's going to go next.
Thank you, Reverend Cheryl. Yeah, you touched on some stuff I was thinking about too. And I think as we're explaining this whole idea of something new, it's understanding that we live in a field of infinite possibilities. There really are no limits at all except in our consciousness. And I love, I know it's true, you can change your life at any time. It doesn't have to be December 31st, but it certainly is a nice time to take some thought around what you want to create in your next year. And our teacher, Dr. James Mellon, had a service a few weeks ago through his center where he spoke to 3 questions that we ask ourselves at this time of year. And what's working in my life? What's not working in my life? And what's next? And I think those are great questions to ask ourselves, to give ourselves the opportunity to make changes and to eliminate or release those things that aren't working and figure out what is working and what we want to bring into our lives. And I know a theme for a lot of people this year is, separation and limitation, because what we normally do isn't available anymore. And we have spoken to the idea that that's a great place where creativity begins. When the old is not there for us, we can find the new by going to that creative source of life within ourselves, which is God, because that's infinite possibility, infinite ideas, infinite new thoughts. And so it's really a time for us to break free from those old limits that we've put on ourselves and entertain a new possibility. If something's on your heart to live into, that means that there is life that wants to be lived by means of you. And it is possible. If you're thinking about it, then it's possible and probable that it can be made manifest for you if you give it a chance. So I think what I'm trying to say is give those heart desires a chance to be lived into and just let it happen. When all it takes really is to say yes, and the universe will unfold it absolutely perfectly. You don't need to figure out all the details. So open yourselves up to a new thought, a new idea for yourself, because all of us that are going to do that, we're working together because we are one, and we're co-creating a better life when we're listening to our hearts and letting those new possibilities, those new thoughts to be our reality, because we're going to create a great reality together, no matter what's going on in the world of appearances. We all contain that possibility to bring a new world to our world and to our individual lives, but it does start as I almost called you Dr. William. Oh my gosh, is that a portent of things to come? Who knew the possibility, right? As Reverend Williams said, the new year starts with a new thought, and that creates a new you. So I'm going to pass it over to Reverend Brad, I think is next. Or Reverend Brad.
Awesome, Reverend Dale. So we're getting the feeling that an understanding deeper of we're looking at how can letting go and creating a new thought and releasing previous thoughts to create something new. And something I learned a long time ago, I don't know how to use whiteboard in our new streaming platform. So I'm gonna do this. You can see how, so here's me in my life, right? And my life is actually, and here's the whole length of eternity. So before me, there was eternity, and after me, there was eternity, and I'm here in the middle. And what this constitutes for me is I've always been with God and always one in God and always will be. So there's some essence that's within me, that has always been and always will be. And that's where we talk about the immortality of life and eternality of life in the religious science philosophy. And what makes it easier for me to understand this in life is all of, let's see, probably for you on the screen, is that before or is that the after mark? Whatever is the before in your visual of before me, here's my life right here. I can cancel everything that happened before me with just a thought. So sure, I attracted whatever parents I have and issues and relationships and work. And in one moment, in one breath and one prayer, I can create a completely new experience in the next moment. And seeing that visual for me realizes how big and small life is and can be, but how powerful the law is in any given space. You know, we may see a therapist or a psychologist to review our past to help us understand in the moment where we need to move forward. And often with a practitioner or minister when we're praying, it's right here, right now. We don't need to hear much of the story. What do you want? We claim the prayer and claim the word, and it's manifest. So we need to choose for ourselves. Do I review all of my journals for this past year and spend time with them? And then one of my first minister, she would spend time with them on New Year's Day, and then she'd put them in an outdoor fire pit and just burn them all and watch them burn at the end of that first day of January. And she started again and write new journals. I thought that's a great release to see what's in the past I need. See what's in the past I need that can help me create the future I want or the new present I want? Or is there something still there I'm attached to that I need to release? Attachment's pretty easy. If I keep friggin' bringing it up, I'm attached to it. If I don't talk about it anymore, I'm not attached to it. So thanks for bringing up this topic, Reverend William, about in the moment, I can just take this time, review my previous thought, and right now, I can make a new thought, create a new condition, and create a new manifestation. So, how about the wise Reverend Gail? What would you like to add to this?
Thank you, Reverend Bradley. And I've really enjoyed everyone's comments. And we would love to hear from you, our audience, on this last fabulous 5 for 2020. So please jump in with your comments on a new thought to start a new year. So in a couple of days, it's going to be time to change our calendars from December to January. And that also means from 2020 to 2021. And as we do, many of us are going to try to begin this new year with a giant list of changes, what's next, as Dale said, or popularly known as New Year's resolutions. So I've never been a fan of resolutions, as I've shared with you before on this program, because for me, they always feel like a list of what's wrong with me and what needs to be fixed, which I know isn't true for me, and I know is not true for any of you that are here today. And yet most of us follow this New Year's tradition in one way or another. So it really does make sense when you think about it, because as practicing metaphysicians, we're always growing forward. We're always expanding. We're always creating the life of our dreams. So no matter what we call it, that is where we're headed. So I think the difference here is maybe in our point of view. So we all have things that with some soul searching, we know we need to release. And it's not because they're bad, but because their gifts already been given. And now it's time to say thank you and release it from our lives. I know that I have a lot of these releases. And sometimes I find there's some labor involved in that, right? And what does labor produce? When you think about it, that's right, new life. Labor produces a new life, new perspective, a new point of view. It produces what comes next. So labor often requires deep soul searching, at least for me, to truly reveal what needs to be released. And I think that's where our spiritual practices come in. Our spiritual practices guide and support us in more deeply connecting with our mind, our body, and our spirit. Truly excavating from our heart that all of our heartfelt desires, new understandings, new perspectives. What comes next is birthed from our heart center. And as these new perspectives are birthed, what needs to be released is released. So if my new point of view or my new change or what next is to be more kind, then that is my new point of view. That's what's been birthed, and what I've released has been being less kind. So who wants to jump in after me?
I love that perspective. That is fabulous. But I just remember at one point, I've been wearing braces. I know y'all can't tell because I have to take them off to speak. But as a result, I've lost a lot of weight because it's such a hassle to take them off and put them back on. And then you have to brush your teeth in between. And so you end up brushing your teeth like 6 times a day. And it's like, whoa, okay. I know some people do that anyway, but I wasn't one of them. But what I remembered is I said, oh, I want to lose weight. Well, who was it? William, I think at one point said, well, if you lose it, you can find it again. So you need to release it. And so what Gail just said was, when you're releasing something that just no longer serves you, and you're just not going back to that place and picking at the wound anymore. You're just letting go of those things and just forgiving yourself for holding on to them for so long. And so now it's time to just say, I mean, maybe that's why I sounded so weird, I think, in the opening when I kept saying, I did this just for me. But how many times can you actually say that you do that? Can you actually say it out loud without feeling like when my mother was like, well, you know, you've got to be very humble and all of this stuff. Well, yes, you do. But you also have to love yourself. And that was the hardest thing for me to learn. I felt like I could give love to everyone else. I could share. I could be of service. I could do all this stuff. And it was so rewarding. But without that true love of yourself, it's like William said, it's not something that when you're of service, you're not standing on a platform saying, look at me, what I've done. You're just being of service because that's what nurtures you and what nurtures your soul and what is calling forth from you, that divine urge to be of service, or that divine urge to work in a different field, that divine urge to be creative, whatever it is. But just let that divine urge this year, at the end of this year, just as a milestone, like, year is a year. We just make it as a concept, but like William said, but just at this point, maybe this is a time just to release a lot of things, just to release them and let them go. That's it. It's hard to do. I know it's been said that, but it can be done. But thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Reverend Cheryl. So I'm going to turn the car in a new direction. So there's some people that are out there saying, God, that sounds great, but how can I believe in my potential or the ability to do all these things that I want to do? And, we teach about the plasticity of the mind, that even though we've been mired in habits that don't serve us and we're not getting where we want to go, our minds are totally plastic. And we have great tools that we all use. We use prayer, we use affirmations, we use a variety of different things that allow your mind to change, because you can change it and you can change your beliefs. And that's where it all begins. When we change our beliefs about ourselves, about our possibilities, about the potential, and we start seeing that, yes, we do have the ability to do anything in life and create anything that we want to create, we can change to that belief system and create whatever 2021 you want to bring into your life. And like I said earlier, don't be concerned with the outer world. Do not let it affect you, because everything starts with us, our thoughts and our beliefs. And if we see something great that we want to live into, just say yes to it and live into it. But just know that sometimes it takes a little belief work to shift that consciousness so that you can be open to being all that you want to be. And we've all, I know I can speak for everybody that I'm with today, that we've all changed our minds and continue to. We continue to, because, you know, as I think maybe it was Reverend Gail who said, we're always, and I love that, I'm stealing that. We're always, did you say evolving forward, or yeah, I love that. We are always evolving forward. And just to know that there is that inner pull to evolve forward and spiral upward, as Ernest Holmes said. So just know that you might need to do a little inner work, but your mind is flexible and plastic, and we can all help you with those tools that will break you free from those old beliefs and those old thoughts so that you can live a bigger life. And who's following me? Reverend William.
Thank you, Reverend Dale. You know what? I'm going right there off of that. I'm going to tell everyone here, yes, please, any issues that you're having, do not hesitate to call the center. You are not bothering any one of us in asking for help or just a conversation. That is what we're here for. Not only are we here for that in the capacity of being reverenced now, but truly every one of us should be that just because we are. So if you are going through that difficult time or feeling lonely, I encourage you to pick up the phone and call the center, and you can and will be directed to someone. Who knows? I might even answer the phone, because I'm always working the phones a lot, and I love to talk, and my wife knows that I do. But anyway, to ride shotgun on what Reverend Dale was talking about, exactly. It's the perspective, and we're talking about perspective. New thought, new year. It's all just perspective. Every single second of the day, every moment, like Reverend Brad is talking about, that technically is a new thought. And so it's also a new year. So don't base your past or your future or not future. Don't base what you want to experience by past experience. Allow the infinite intelligence to inspire you. As Reverend Gail says, evolve forward. Open your heart and your mind to the infinite possibilities of experience, and allow your heart to guide you to that next thought. And you can, like Reverend Dale, change the direction of your life, of your conversation, of your relationship. Not only a relationship with others, but more importantly, with the relationship of yourself. And when you can come from that standpoint, that vantage point, there is a huge advantage of perspective of what's going on around you when you're standing on the mountain of your own life. You are not a molehill. You are a mountain, because you have the entire essence and power of spirit already within you. You just need to drill that well and tap into that realization of that energy that you already have within yourself. And every one of us has the ability to help you find, like they do, what do they do with those little rods, whatever, and when you get to water, they cross. We'll be your guide and help you find where those wires cross for you, so that you can tap into your own divine essence. That's what we love to do here on Wednesday morning, is to inspire you, to evolve you forward to your next experience. And I do want to thank David for his comment, and I'm hoping I'm reading this correctly. He actually wrote a comment: if we seek the divine in men, we shall find it and be entertaining angels unawares. Boy, that's pretty funny. And that's from Ernest Holmes. I tell you what, it would have been lovely to have met that man. I bet he was funny. I'm sure he had his public life, but I bet he was a firecracker in the private life. I bet he would be somebody to really have a nice little drink with around the fireplace, sitting in those big chairs and stuff. But yes, we seek the divine in men. And aren't we men? Ladies, we are all just life expressing. So as we seek that divine in ourselves, it is realized in the others around us. And so that's where we get that connection that we are all one. And so I'd like to now go to who's next after me. Oh, Reverend Gail again. So the floor is yours.
Well, then I guess I'll just jump in there. So really appreciated your thoughts, Reverend William. And I guess the two things that come to mind for me right now, the first is honesty. So I think most of you are well aware that I gravitate towards doing a lot of work with people around grief and loss. And one of the things that we always talk about is that we can't heal around anything that we're not honest about. And that's what really takes us back then to our spiritual practices, because if we really do want to release something and change something in our lives and as our lives, we really have to be honest around it. And sometimes in this busy world, it's very hard to be honest. And that's why I love our spiritual practices, because when we're in spiritual practice, our soul does not allow us to be dishonest. Our soul comes forth because it only knows the truth. Our soul, our heart only knows the truth. So I loved when Dale brought up that some people are probably thinking right now, well, that's all well and good, but how do I change that? Well, first of all, be honest with yourself. What really do you desire in life, and what do you probably need to change to be able to continue that evolution, that growing forward? Being honest is really important. And the second thing is, remember that the light shines through all of us. That divine light shines through each and every one of us equally, every single one of us. And as that divine light shines, as Dale said, it starts with us. So don't be discouraged. Don't be concerned by what you see in front of you, by what you're experiencing. Remember, just like 2020, that's an end. It all starts with you, and it comes from that divine light. And that divine light shines through you, through me, through everyone equally. We all have equal access to that marvelous light. Let's see, looks like Cheryl's going to jump in.
Yes, because we're kind of getting near the end of our hour. And I just wanted, before I start the closing, does anybody else have anything to add or would like to say something? Okay, we're all good. That's great. Okay, first of all, we have some announcements that Dr. Joe on Mondays is teaching Back to Basics. And it's Dr. Joe is making a house call. So this should be an interesting thing since he is a doctor now. I didn't know doctors made house calls anymore. But and then on Wednesday, of course, we'll have Fab 5. But I skipped Tuesday because on Tuesday the 5th, I will be doing a talk at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's called Keeping Your Child Cool During Stressful Times. Now, that sounds weird unless you see the way I've got little things. Oh, never mind. Anyway, the title is about, I'm going to be interviewing Judy Jensen, and she's the Western Regional Director of Child Help, which is for the support of neglected and abused children. So anyway, if anybody would like to come in, what it means is keeping your cool with your child during stressful times. I was just trying to do a play on words. And then on Wednesday, of course, we'll be back, the Fab 5, and we can't wait to see you again next week. And Thursday and Friday, Reverend Charles and our beloved Dr. Laura have presented a special New Year's Eve message that can be, you can watch it on Thursday and Friday. And then on Saturday, there's a guided meditation by one of the staff ministers. And then on Sunday, of course, we have our Sunday service at 10 o'clock in the morning. So what time is everything this week? 10 o'clock, everybody. So, Then also, I'd like to just give a shout out to Brad. He's doing a Caregivers Connection. It only meets the first and third Mondays of the month, but you know, if you're a caregiver, it can be very isolating and it can be very, very stressful. So if you just like to have someone that can talk to you or that you can speak with and just share your thoughts, this is the place to be. And then Reverend Charles will be back on the 8th of January with his Love on Life, and Power of 8 is on Wednesday at 8 a.m. in the morning. So please sign up for that. And of course, then Reverend William and I are still doing Social 8, and we'll be firing back up on January 7th. And now I'd like, Reverend Dale would just like to have a minute here to say something.
Thank you, Reverend Cheryl. I just want to, a lot of people don't realize that we have a huge healing ministry at our prayer ministry at our center, and we do pastoral care, which at this time is really not going to hospitals or home visits or convalescent homes, but it's more about just being there for you and connecting with you in a regular basis if you're going through any kind of physical challenge. And we welcome you. I know some people they feel like they're going to be bothering us, or there's some sort of trepidation, but I want to encourage you, if you're going through anything, please contact us. We have the most fabulous group of practitioners and ministers that can give you prayer, that can touch base with you once a week just to see how you're doing. I feel like we're underutilized because we don't get a lot of people calling us, and this is what we love to do. We love to be here for you, and I just want to invite you to take advantage of our prayer, of our love, and our knowing for you. So you can call the office. You can also submit prayer requests through our online system, through our website. There's a tab. You can just send a prayer request and it goes out to all of us. So I just want to encourage you, if you're having a tough time or you just need a little extra support, please reach out to us. We'd love to support you. That's what we're here for. And I just wanted to remind you all of that because I don't think everybody knows that. So thank you, Reverend Cheryl, for giving me a minute.
No problem. No problem. Now it's the time for us to do the obligatory, please donate, because our center is so vital and so alive, and we want to keep it that way. Even during this time when we've been closed down, we're still plugging along, trying to keep all the message going out there to everyone. So please, if you're spiritually fed here, please give where you're fed. If you go to a restaurant, and I said this before, but it's true, if you go out to eat, they expect you to pay for the food. So please just think of this not as an expectation, but as something that comes from your heart, that you want to give back for what is coming in for you, what you're absorbing through these messages that we're presenting to you. And so then, are there any other? No, I think that's it. Did I miss anything? Please tell me if I did. Okay, good. So let's just get comfortable in our seats, and I'm just going to do a benediction here to close us out. And I'd like to thank everyone that's been present today, and we really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us. And so I just know that there is this beautiful love and power that just permeates all existence, that everything is this energy, this power, this beautiful source of all possibility. Everything is possible in our lives. And I know, as I know for each person present today, that I am an expression of God, here to show God a good time, to express life fully and completely in every moment, and not to harbor any thoughts or anything that is keeping us from fully being the divine, beautiful creatures that we are. And so I just know in my heart that as this new year unfolds, that new thoughts and new ideas are now ready to just spring forth and just be expressed through each and every one of us. And I am ready for that moment, for all of those things that are now occurring in my life that has brought me to this point to go forth and just express completely and fully in every moment. And so I just am so grateful for everyone that is here, for all of the good, for all of the things that I have learned today. And I am blessed by each and every one of the reverends that are present with me, for all of the thoughts and the insights that they have brought to me today. And I am just so, so grateful. And so now I'm just releasing my word to the law, knowing that everything is unfolding in divine right order. And I just let go now and just let God. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Happy New Year's, everyone.
Happy New Year.
See you next year.